Okay, we're going to talk about the 7 strategies that OnePlus uses to sell you its phones. And this is a collab with Martin from Tech Alter, so I'll leave all his links in the description below. So, to start things off, price expectations. The OnePlus 6T McLaren Edition is about as good value as you can get for a car-branded special edition phone, but in my opinion, it's actually a really clever way to hike up the price of the OnePlus 7. You see, the standard 6T starts at £499 in the UK, but the McLaren edition is all the way up at £649. The company gets away with this because it's a special limited edition phone and comes with all sorts of goodies in the box, but at the same time, they've managed to shift our point of reference. The OnePlus 7 is, of course, going to be better than both of these phones, but by introducing the McLaren 6T, the 7 will seem like great value even at £599. Even though that's a whole £100 more than the base 6T. Then we've got the fact that right from the OnePlus 3, the company has worked really closely with celebrities and YouTubers. And they don't pay us, but what I mean by this is that they pay close attention to what it is that we want. About 2 weeks before the launch of a new OnePlus device, they ship one out to all of their top influencers, which means that we have time to test and film the phone in our own studios, and this makes OnePlus content so much better than from a lot of companies that might just set up a stand surrounded by really poor lighting and expect you to squeeze through crowds to try and get some footage. Okay, over to you, Martin.
Hey, I'm Martin from Tech Alter, and I've criticized OnePlus quite a lot on my channel before, but there's no denying that they're very smart. I think my favorite example would be their pricing strategy. We all know OnePlus made a name for itself as the flagship killer company with aggressive prices. And even though current OnePlus phones cost as much nowadays as the flagships they were trying to kill just a few years ago, that label stuck with them. And so did a strategy that they actually copied from Apple. Let's call this the steady pricing strategy. OnePlus, just like Apple, keeps the price of their phones steady over the whole life cycle until the next model is announced. And this works incredibly well for us enthusiasts, because we pay attention to the launch events, to the launch prices, and the reviews that get made at launch. Based on these, we label phones instantly as overpriced, or good value, or somewhere in between. And these labels stick with us over time. And first impressions last, so when people actually buy phones a few months later, they still think of OnePlus phones as the affordable ones, even though at that point comparable flagships often cost significantly less. And this is great for OnePlus, as production and marketing costs of these phones go down, and as they add special edition devices like the McLaren edition that actually raise their prices, they become more and more profitable over time while still being perceived as providing great value. It's kind of like the reverse of what companies like LG get, who instantly get labeled as overpriced during their launch and then actually have to end up selling phones at razor-thin margins during the majority of their life cycles. Alright, back to you, Aaron.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about something that we're going to call the color cycle. You probably know that a lot of companies make limited edition versions of their phones. Apple might do a product red every now and again, and Samsung has made some pretty slick color variants like the white Note 9, but none more so than OnePlus. In fact, for the 5T, the company launched with Midnight Black, and then within the space of 4 months, had already come out with a Star Wars edition, Sandstone White, and then Lava Red. By staggering the release of colors like this, they can continue to dominate the news cycle. If they had just dropped all color options at launch with this phone, people might have forgotten about it by the time the OnePlus 6 arrived. And OnePlus can only do this because they're such a focused company. Compared to a company like Samsung that's throwing out 50 phones per year, OnePlus pretty much just does 2. This focus makes it agile. OnePlus can make a decision, for example, to start production of a new color variant, and it could be implemented within weeks. Then we've got the second mover advantage. Now, the reason people get really excited about the price of OnePlus phones is because, really, that's it. These phones are never the ones to introduce groundbreaking features or really powerful software algorithms like you see on Google's Pixel phones. They just do what others are doing, but cheaper. So when you compare them to companies like Huawei and Samsung, OnePlus saves millions on R&D. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. OnePlus saves on research costs, and then passes this saving on to customers, which then makes their phones stand out because they're cheaper. Okay, back to you, Martin.
Okay, Aaron actually told me to pick 2 separate examples, but since I find pricing so exciting, here are a few more thoughts about pricing. Steady pricing has the kind of indirect effect of making a price really memorable. Just think about it. Nobody remembers the price of a Galaxy Note 9 or an LG V40. Like, in both cases, those are some nebulous figures that change all the time and across retailers and so on. But if you are a phone geek, a real nerd, there is a really good chance that you remember at least the prices of a few iPhones or a few OnePlus devices to the last digit. They are proudly displayed on every product page at every launch event, they are mentioned in most reviews quite prominently, and they likely haven't changed since they were announced. And if pricing is a key part of your strategy, either because you're Apple and you really want to appear as a premium brand, or because you're OnePlus and you want people to think that you're very affordable, then keeping that price steady really gets that message across effectively and makes it very memorable. And finally, discounts and these big price drops, they might work on the short term to boost sales, but they're really dangerous on the long term. They make consumers question the original price tags of these products, and they make it really hard for a brand to charge premium prices in the future. After all, if you know that, for example, LG phones are always half price just a few months after their launch, would you pay the premium launch price for them? I don't think so. Which is why companies like OnePlus rarely ever mess with the price to push sales and instead add extra goodies like earphones or add new colors, for example. Alright, thanks for having me on, and back to you, Aaron.
Alright, so we can almost summarize a lot of what we've talked about in what I would call OnePlus's aggressive marketing strategy. Right from the start, OnePlus has been all about revolution, destroying what came before, creating a new league. And to be fair, their first phone really did embody this mantra. It looked unlike anything we'd seen, came with top-tier specs, and held a price of £249. But right now, at the start of 2019, OnePlus doesn't really have that price advantage anymore. That mid-range flagship market is extremely competitive. But the thing that's held true is OnePlus's aggressive positioning of their products. Take the LG G7 ThinQ, which got a lot of flack for two main things: ugly software, but mainly the fact that it did nothing to differentiate itself. Here's the thing, if you really think about it on a hardware level, the OnePlus 6 and the LG G7 ThinQ are very, very similar offerings. The specs and design are close. They look almost identical from the front, and technically the G7 has 2 times the screen resolution plus a really cool ultra-wide lens on top. Even actually in terms of price, I was able to find the G7 for less. So what I think happened here is that OnePlus managed to differentiate themselves because of how they pitched their device. They put emphasis on the price and really sold the features in a clear way to people. They engaged celebrities and influencers and really used the second mover advantage to save costs at every turn. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. This video has been pretty much 3 months in the works, so if you did enjoy it, be sure to smash that subscribe button down below and head over to Martin's channel. He makes really thought-provoking tech content. Alright, catch you in the next one.